Good morning. My name is Tara Paul, and when I think back on annual conference, I think that some of my fondest memories have come when I think about the worship experiences. Worship at annual conference is not dry and dull, but it's full of life. The Spirit is moving amongst us and you can feel it. You feel it from Monday night, where the ordination service takes place, where you see how people are being called into the ministry of God and to doing His work. You see it on the last night, where the youth lead the worship service, where you see youth that are 12 to 18 who are standing up there preaching the good news and leading us in song and through drama, showing us that God speaks to all generations. For me, the worship services are the most powerful part of annual conference. And if you go to annual conference, make sure you go to the worship services, because they'll touch your life and they'll change you too.
I was so happy at the conference. We had a young Afro-American girl who grew up very, very hard and just faced a lot of obstacles growing up. And then she was offered a scholarship to go to college. She graduated from college and went on to minister school, and she was the most precious young girl I've seen in a long time. She was so happy. And I told Sylvia, I said, you know, one day we may see her as the President of the United States. With her personality and being able to speak like she could, she was wonderful. Another part of the program that I really enjoyed was the retiring ministers and their wives when they got up to speak. And Larry was one of them, and he and Peggy were so happy, and I was so glad to be a part of his retirement.
Hi, I'm Bud Yiser, and I was very honored that our church asked me to be one of the lay delegates for the North Georgia Conference annual meeting this year. This was my first time ever going to a North Georgia annual conference, and it was a very busy week. We were up from 6 and 2 hours for lunch and afternoon, and then 2.5 hours for dinner, and then back for worship service and more work. So it was a busy, hard week, but I was very impressed by how the Methodists run a business meeting and an election, and combine it with good music, good worship services, with laughter and under control, so everybody keeps their priorities right. We had a very successful meeting and had a great time, and was proud to be a member of this church to represent all of you.
Annual conference. What an exciting time it is to see all the clergy and the laity from around the North Georgia Conference get together. There are screams of delight and joy as they greet one another, and to sit back and watch that as they hug and embrace and just remember the times that they were together. That diversity, it shone throughout the week, how each session was opened with prayer, and it was prayed in another language and then interpreted for us in English. Different people representing different walks of life, and our theme this year ended up with Micah 6:8, to walk humbly with the Lord. And throughout the week we had pictures of people's feet shown on the board, and how different that is and how different each of us are, but we come together and we're called Methodist.
The North Georgia Annual Conference met in Athens, Georgia on June 11th through the 15th at the Classic Center. It opened with the singing of the traditional hymn by Charles Wesley, "And Are We Yet Alive?" Delegates were elected to general and jurisdictional conference for a total of 28 delegates and alternates. We are the largest conference in Methodism now, with 346,000 members. Last year we had a net gain of over 4,300 members. That includes over 4,000 members by confession of faith. We had a busy week with voting for delegates, listening to reports from various agencies of the conference, and we also had worship services and beautiful music. It was a pleasure for me to attend annual conference, and I'd just like to remind you that we were in Bulldog Country. We saw bulldogs on every corner. So to bid you goodbye, I say, go Dogs!